Welcome to the Emotional Endurance Movement, where we chit chat about how we're staying regulated in a very dysregulating world.
Come along with us as we deal with life's messiness.
I'm Laurie Page.
And I'm Crimson McDonald. And this week I want to talk about me using one of your cooking skills. The thing we're selling, it actually works, I want to talk about me using one of your cooking skills.
All right, let's do it.
I'm really sorry, my microphone's my boob. Let me start over. That was like in my boob. Okay. I want to talk one of the coping skills that I learned from you.
Uh-huh.
I learned lots of coping skills from you.
Yeah.
But so we have talked about this like physics equation, right? Of for every action, there's a reaction.
Yeah.
And really, like what we're talking about is that moment where you have the agency to decide what the reaction is going to be. Long story short, we we got our daughter a watch. She may not be allowed to wear it at school only because her specific teacher doesn't want to deal with it. Now, there's lots of dynamics, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is like I went through the efforts to buy an expensive watch. This was a big deal. It's wrapped up in her identity of safety. She's always had one. This was an upgrade. So she's been able to wear it for kindergarten, first grade, now in second grade. There's this change, but it's only affecting her and no one else, right? So I'm like I'm the person that's going to give educators the benefit of the doubt. They're managing a classroom of kids. There's a lot of other factors. My anxiety, my child, like when you tell a kid, you're leaving mommy, but you have this device on you. So I'm always there and everyone else has it and you don't, you take away that agency. So I slept on it, woke up pretty upset, not feeling very empathetic to the teacher at the moment. Absolute dysregulation. And the best part is that I think it was because no one was here. And so there's no witness to it. And so like I was just allowed. Like no one's gonna know that I freaked out about this. The problem with that is that like I have a job. Like we work.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
And so how am I not gonna bring this to work?
I mean, we bring our full selves. And if you're dysregulated, like you're gonna show up dysregulated to work. Like
Right.
everybody knows this, but like we gotta name it. Like it needs to be named.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
there's no way, like, if I wasn't working with you or if I had to go into an office, I would have totally been the coworker that needed to be co-regulated,
Yeah.
that or just came in full bitch mode, like, I mean but I found myself at that moment of, like, the
Ah.
action, reaction, and so I used one of your coping skills, I called a friend. It can also be toxic in the sense that, like I trauma dumped on her because she's going through it too, which I didn't know, to be fair. And I didn't really like give her a path to get out of me. Like once she answered, it was just like I just trauma dumped on her. And I didn't know she was going through the same thing. But it ended up taking me out of the spiral. I got a productive work day in. I
Yeah.
didn't like
That's
do
true. You
anything.
did. I can validate it. I can validate it. She did get work done yesterday.
Yeah. So thank you, said friend. From us here at Sprouting Chain. So yeah, it's nice to feel in control because, I think we also talked I was gonna talk to someone else about it, but it was until, like, 3:30, so, like, I tabled it, I phoned a friend, coping skill, and then I chose to actually use avoidance, I guess, as a coping
Yeah.
mechanism, right?
Sometimes that's the right thing to do. As much as I'm like, avoid avoidance, there is a time and place for it. And often when it's like a situation that's like developing, like there's more information coming, or there's like really nothing you can do in that moment to change it. And my favorite example, because I think we all get this, is that, when you're waiting for the test results, it's like not a great time to go to Dr. Google.
No, yeah, no.
It's not a great time because you're gonna go down a rabbit hole that is gonna be not great for your mental health
Yeah.
while you're just waiting for more information. And I think there's a lot of tension there. It does take a lot of emotional endurance to
Yeah.
sit with the uncertainty of moments like that and like not knowing. But also, the alternative is just you basically amp yourself up for a bad time for no reason.
Yeah, like, if I
Oh,
could go
the reason is to have control, to have agency, which is a legit reason, but, like, there's a you can also use avoidance in those moments
right.
with great agents.
Well, and in this case, it was like a two-prong approach, right? Because,
Yeah.
like, I had to, like, emotionally vent and, like, get that part out and feel heard or
Yes.
seen or, like, something, and then I used avoidance to, like, move on from that and to know that I could deal with it another time. So, coping skills in real life.
I am exhausted. I can't shut my brain off. I don't feel equipped to deal with any of this. And the truth is, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up.
If thoughts like that sound familiar, you're not alone. Cope 365 is here to help you stop the spiral using a simple, gamified approach that shows you how to cope in ways that actually work. You can stop lashing out, shutting down, or just pretending you're fine while you suffer in silence and instead learn to regulate, recover, and keep going without burning out or losing your relationships or yourself. Cope 365 is here to help you fortify what matters most, your capacity to endure so that stress doesn't steal your joy, your health, or your future. Go to cope365.com and enter promo code EMM for 30% off of any of our packages.
I'm glad you have the ability to discern. It's hard in situations like that, even when you're well equipped to be able to kind of pull yourself back, because ultimately, if you're experiencing emotional dysregulation, something doesn't feel safe. Something feels
Right.
wrong. Like it needs to be addressed and resolved. And this is where we have to kind of be smarter than our brain, which are the smartest thing we've ever discovered, and also like super dumb, which
Yeah.
is fun. So it is often that we have to do a 2-prong, a 3-prong, a 4-prong, a
Yeah.
17-prong
Oh, it's not over.
approach. That's we flip of this
Yeah.
experience, right?
It'll be
But
long.
I'm glad that you had the capacity to kind of sit with that and make a different choice. And we know that every time you do that, you add more to your reserves and you add more to the likelihood that you're going to cope more effectively with dysregulation in the future.
Well,
Yeah.
and I do wanna normalize that, like, I have been neck deep in your thought leadership for a year. I mean, we're almost at a year, and, so I don't know if I would have if I hadn't been doing the reps and been, like, super if I wasn't consciously coping
Yeah.
already. So, it just proves that,
It rolls, right?
yeah, the thing we're selling, it actually works, you know? Um, yeah. So, as a salesperson out there, they're probably like, "It's different when you
Yeah.
know what you're selling works." But, yeah, it was nice to have it, to name it, to go through all of those. I mean, those are all skills of, like, naming it, identifying it, and, yeah, I was grateful
Yeah.
because I didn't make a jackass out of myself. 'Cause at the end of the day, emotional dysregulation results in feeling like a jackass.
Often that is, it's a very humbling experience to do the
Yeah.
cleanup work of emotional dysregulation. And we all have to do it from time to time. And I do think like there's a reason for that. I mean, that is literally the friction of
Right.
growth, when you run up against something that you're like, that needs to be resolved, or that rupture needs to be addressed, or I just need to learn how to handle this thing differently because I'm going to deal with it every single day. And that's where I do think a lot of times we get stuck as humans in these big arcs of like, if this one thing were to change, my life would change. When really what I've seen and one of the gifts that my profession has given me is seeing that like really great change happens through micro moments. Just these split second small decisions that like honestly, like if you're not paying attention to, you can just very easily like check out and just not even think twice about them. And I
Right.
do think that is part of the natural resistance that people have to approaching it like this seems like in some ways it seems micromanaging for like what, but it's more micromanaging in the small kind of
Right.
way. Not so much that you have to have this great control over everything and how you deal with everything and be like this perfect emotionally endurant person, which isn't true. Like I'm pretty sure like most of us fight dysregulation every day. Yeah, I mean, like, in the last year since we've really been digging into this, I've just noticed that, like, dysregulation, mine or someone else's around me, which can be everything from a family member to just a stranger in the street. I'm, like, fighting that fight every single day to stay regulated, especially and I think we have to name this right now, especially when things feel very uncertain, very out of control, very chaotic, and people are really struggling with that. I know it seems absurd to say, "Stop looking at the big picture," but I think we have to reorient our focus to prioritize
Yeah.
the small picture in order to change the larger one, and that is where we have to be kinda smarter than our brain, not waiting for this magic moment when we're gonna handle things differently, but, like, actually practicing
Yep.
every
Exactly.
day, utilizing the discernment for how can we make things different, and still leave room for, like, moments of, like, what you had was a real emotional experience. You needed to rage, you needed to feel that. It does sound like having some privacy allowed you to really
Yeah, I don't know if that was a good or bad thing, but we got through step 1.
Yeah,
Processing.
absolutely. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Emotional Endurance Movement. Make sure to like and follow us for more great coping and emotional endurance content. And remember, you're not alone. We'd love to hear from you. Check out the show notes and let us know how you're coping, what you're coping with, and how we can support you.